like to call this machine as something which helps us to see the unseen. So what you cannot see with other OCTs, or something what you cannot pick it up clinically or any other diagnostic machine. So just tweaked in a little bit of seeing the unseen. And of course, we've had a lot of experience with the Pentacam OCT from the beginning, but otherwise no direct financial interest, which can affect the content of the presentation. So we all know that when it comes to cataract or refractive surgery, it is all about the march of evolution. We started with something like a Placido-based topography, then came the slit scanning, the Scheimpflug imaging, but it was not enough. So then it came the biomechanics, but then still something was missing, and then everybody started looking at epithelium and other layer by layer structures of the cornea. So whenever there is an eye or any medical condition involved, it's like you have to be on a path of relentless march of evolution, otherwise you will be lacking something in the practice. So the new Oculus Pentacam OCT, it not only gives you the Scheimpflug technology, where you can get the existing details of whatever you do with Pentacam, but it also is a high resolution corneal OCT technology to assess the corneal disease more effectively. Now, how is this high resolution OCT going to help us? We have to come out of a phase again where we just don't look at the structure of the cornea as a whole, or the corneal thickness, or just the superficial layers. As a cornea surgeon or as a refractive surgeon, we have to start looking at cornea by layer. And that's not just your epithelium or Bowman's or stroma or decimates or endothelium. You also have to take into consideration the tear film, which you can look with the Pentacam OCT, and which in the presentation it will tell you where you can look at. And there are some cases where you can also look at Dua's layer, which is very important when it comes to corneal surgeries. And within the epithelium, we do have layers of epithelium, so it now helps us appreciate the different layers of epithelium, like the basal cells and everything. So it gives you a lot more information as a refractive and a cornea surgeon with the Pentacam OCT. And the other important part is the Bowman's layer. We all know that Bowman's layer is the toughest structure, and probably it's one of the non-useful structure until now. But again, with this presentation, I will show you some images of how beautifully you can image the Bowman's layer and why it is important in our practice and how it can impact the outcomes. So modern day refractive surgery, a lot of people ask, do I need an epithelial map or not? I think we are going towards an era that topography or tomography is a must, but epithelial mapping is also equally important when you look at a corneal map when you're deciding for refractive surgery also. So epithelial mapping is becoming a must. Now let's look at this case. This is one of our very favorite cases, and it's just not one case wonder, or it's not just a poster case. You see this every day in the clinic, and you can see there's a little bit of inferior steepening present here in the axial map, but it doesn't correlate with the thickness or the anterior and posterior elevation. Then why is this inferior steepening present? Are we looking at a case of an early keratoconus? We do use biomechanics in our practice a lot, of course, with caution. So if you can see here, the CBI, which is the Corvus Biomechanical Index, it's normal. However, the TBI and BAD-D are suspicious. So what are we looking at? This patient has walked in for a refractive surgery. Should we really do a refractive surgery for this patient or no? So we started looking at the epithelium, and you have to be mindful of the colors here. Usually the traditional mindset is blue or anything below that is thin, whereas yellow or red is thick, which is not the case here. The warmer means better, the bluer means it's on the worst side. And here the blue color is actually a thickened epithelium, which is 57 compared to the periphery, which is 46. So you actually see there is an inferior steepening of the epithelium present. And the TBI and BAD-D, TBI is more dependent on BAD-D, and BAD-D is also dependent on the curvature. So the CBI here, which is the normal biomechanics, is actually telling us the truth. And if we probe in deeper, it's matching with the inferior steepening of the epithelium. And we are probably not looking at a case of an inferior steepening or an ectasia, but probably we are looking at a case of just an inferior epithelium steepening, which could be a ocular surface disease. So this was found in both the eyes. You can see the right eye epithelial hyperplasia was more compared to that of the left eye. And let's say now it's clear that it's not an ectatic case. So should I go ahead and do a refractive surgery for this patient, or is this still a red flag sign? You always have to understand that whenever there is an irregular epithelium present, you always ask for history of what is there, how do they commute. A lot of people, they walk, use two-wheelers in our countries, or they are in a highly polluted environment. A lot of people have history of dry eye disease. They are chronic computer users, past history of ocular infections, or a chronic history of contact lens wear. If they have one of the positive histories, it could have impacted the corneal epithelium, which will not impact the biomechanics, but the biomechanics will be normal. Now, if you want to further probe in deeper, why is the epithelial irregular? There's always a tool, meibography, you can do. Because a lot of times, epithelium is an early surrogate marker. Changes in the epithelium is an early surrogate marker of how your gland health is. Because if the gland health, if there is a gland loss or if there is an MGD, there is definitely going to be an extreme tear film instability. You can see the changes on the knee butt, which is clearly shown here. You can see all the absent areas, and you can see the red and orange areas. You hardly see any green or yellows. So the first change is the meibomian gland health, which impacts your tear film, which is unstable. And when the tear film is unhealthy, it starts impacting your epithelium. So it's not like you're just looking at the corneal curvature. You have to start digging deeper, and you're probably missing a case of a dry eye here and not an ectasia. So you're not looking at keratoconus or an inferior early ectasia, but you're looking at an early case of dry eye disease, which has already impacted the epithelium. And if you try to do a surgery on this patient, post-operatively, it's going to be an even more irregular epithelium. And that's why a lot of your cataract and refractive surgery patients, especially the premium IOL patients, are not very happy, because the biometry is perfect. They have 20/20 vision, but the quality of vision is not very good in cataract patients, or the quality is not very good in refractive surgery patients because of the irregular epithelium. They have a poor optics. The tear film you saw, it was irregular, so it's going to be irregular even post-surgery, and that's going to impact their quality of vision, and that's going to lead to glare and halos. So the fault is probably not in how a doctor does the surgery, but something which we missed pre-operatively, and that's why the patient is unhappy. So just OCT can help you dig in further and further, find out the ideal pathology, whether it's keratoconus or dry eye, what is the extent of the dry eye disease if you do a meibography, the extent of the tear film breakup time with the knee butt, and it will tell you what is your post-op outcome going to be. So you can actually just treat the patient pre-operatively and do it. Now, just looking at, as I was mentioning, that, we just don't look at epithelium anymore. We are looking at now different structures of the epithelium. With this OCT, this is the first time you're able to see, this is not the tear film, but the reflecting area, which is the tear film. Then starts the epithelium, and then you see a little bit of this black or a dull area below the epithelium. That is nothing but a part of epithelium, and it is basal cells. So as a corneal surgeon, a lot of times basement layer dystrophies are missed, but this will give you the information of how the health of the basal cell segment is, and it will help you whether, again, you operate, don't operate, how do you treat the patient, with drops, with some other therapeutic treatment or not. So this is just the raw scan, and we've just labeled it, so it can actually show even the layers of epithelium and the health of epithelium as well. Now, this is in collaboration with Oculus. It's done with the R&D team, and the software is going to be integrated in the Pentacam OCT maybe next year. But it's called as the epithelium Narayana epithelium evaluation display, where we compare the conventional and the next generation thickness maps with the ultra high resolution imaging. So what happens is, whenever you do an OCT and whenever it gives you any epithelial map, you get a raw image, a raw data, which is directly captured from the patient's epithelium. But for the maps to look good, or for when it gives you the maps, it is always a processed or a smoothened out data, which is how the machine irons out the imperfections. If there are any imperfections within, like from two different points, it is going to iron out those imperfections to create a uniform color coded maps. And you don't really get ideal information. If it's a normal healthy cornea or an epithelium, you'll not get any errors. But if you have a dry eye disease, or if you have a chronic contact lens user, or if you are a keratoconic eye where the curvature is irregular, these are all the factors, or these are all the conditions where your epithelium is irregular. And whenever the machine starts to smoothen out the data, there's a lot more irregularities which are missed compared to that of what you see in the machine. So with Oculus, because it's a high definition OCT, what we are trying to do is we are trying to preserve the raw image information without artificial smoothing. So because it's a high definition OCT, you can actually maintain the irregularity data intact as it is, and it doesn't need to be smoothened out. And with that, we are highlighting the hidden epithelial irregularities that the conventional maps might miss, and that will provide a realistic view of the entire epithelium rather than a so-called pseudo image. So let's see how the software works. So this is a normal healthy cornea. Cornea is absolutely healthy. Epithelium looks fairly okay. The raw data shows there is a variability in the epithelial thickness, but if you go and see the conventional map, like how you get a map, you can see there is a smoothing out. You can not pick up the small irregularities present, and there is something they call as a fitting error while smoothing the data. The fitting error is 1.31, where 1 is ideal. So you have actually lost 30% of the information in smoothing out the data. So with this software, it's actually going to negate this effect of smoothing out and going to give you the actual data. In a healthy case, you may not see too much, but if there is a early or a late keratoconus case, there's a lot more irregularities which are smoothened out, and you get a little more negative information. And with this software, along with the Pentacam OCT, it's going to improve a twofold or a threefold improvement over the conventional map. So it's going to give you a lot more refined point-to-point information compared to that of a conventional map, what you see on other devices. And that will help a lot for the development of the artificial intelligence or the machine learning when it comes to epithelium alone. So this is the epithelium part, and this is again a different case. You saw this was a keratoconus, less irregularity, but here there's a lot of irregularity. You can see that red patch, which is a very thinned out epithelium. And here the fitting error is quite a lot, which is threefold. So it just negates out this information, and it helps a lot. The second beauty of this is, again, which I showed, was that you see layer to layer, and you don't only see 5 layers, but you see the tear film. You can actually start quantifying the Bowman's layer, and you can see Dua's layer. So this will, again, Pentacam OCT along with this software is going to give you 2 additional information about the thickness of the tear film and about the thickness of Bowman's layer, which is going to be for the first time. At this point of time, there is no OCT which can help us with the thickness or quantification of tear film or Bowman's layer. So this will help us a lot. The tear film, of course, helps us to a lot in dry eye patients or any ocular surface patients. It will help to decide if your treatment, what kind of treatment you give, if your treatment is working or not. And again, the Bowman's layer is very important, because if the Bowman's layer is thinned out, which we've kept on discussing, then you may be looking at an early case of keratoconus or a progressive keratoconus. If a Bowman's layer is thinned out in one layer, that case is a definite case of a progressive keratoconus or maybe a past history of infection. So quantification of Bowman's layer, like how epithelium has become an integrate part of refractive surgery, Bowman's layer is also going to become an integrate part of quantification of Bowman's layer is going to be becoming the next big thing in refractive surgery. So I think it's an ahead of game situation where you can start quantifying the Bowman's layer thickness. And this is all the information you'll get, the epithelium in total. So nowadays, whatever epithelium thickness you get in any commercial machine is the tear film plus the epithelium thickness. If the tear film is irregular, you will not get the right epithelium thickness. So you will get a thickness where it's tear film plus epithelium, only the tear film, only the epithelium thickness, and only the Bowman's thickness. So it will be a 4-phase thing of what thickness all you can get. The next big question, everybody asks, okay, there's MS-39, there is this device, there's that device, we all have all of these devices which have been there forever. Is your device going to be any better, or why should I go for the device? So then comes the technology, the comparison. So you all know what is the difference in Pentacam OCT compared to that of Solix or CSO, but the question is about the repeatability and how sensitive and specific it is. So the axial resolution is better, the number of B scans are anytime more, so that should give you a lot more information. And does that impact your repeatability or not? So we started looking at healthy and keratoconic eyes between Pentacam OCT, MS-39 and Solix. We took both the healthy and keratoconus cohort. We did 3 scans of every patient, every eye on all the 3 devices, and saw how it was. And just if you look at the maps, of course the statistics and all is different, but if you see the ICC, which is the intra-class correlation between the Pentacam and MS-39 or Pentacam and Solix, you can see that the Pentacam is nearer to 0.9. Of course, 1 is the best, but anything 0.9 or nearer or above is always excellent. So in a healthy cohort, the Pentacam OCT was doing better than that of the other 2 devices. Surprisingly, in keratoconus, where you should look at the repeatability and the ICC being on the lower side, Pentacam OCT actually did better with all in comparison to the other 2 devices, and it had an ICC of 0.97 and 0.96. So even if you're looking at an irregular cornea, the epithelial mapping is much better or much more predictable or repeatable with Pentacam OCT, which are of course taken with the raw edges. And this is the repeatability data of how the tear film thickness map, the Bowman's thickness map, or the true epithelium thickness map is going to be, which is without the tear film. And again, there is some work which needs to be done on the tear film thickness, but otherwise the ICC is better than more than 0.9, which is excellent. And this is the healthy eyes, and this is the keratoconic eyes, where again the ICC is quite good. So compared to other devices, it's better. And if you see the ICC of tear film or Bowman's thickness or true epithelium thickness map, it's got an excellent result here as well. So the entire software or the epithelium, it helps you detect the subtle ocular surface changes, the epithelial remodeling pre and post surgery, and it also helps to plan the surgery when, why, and how. Again, this is what we've been noticing. How does the OCT and biomechanics can be interlinked? Whether the OCT can tell you the information, what we are missing, and whether biomechanics and Bowman's membrane will have an impact on each other. So a lot of times you see a patient undergoing refractive surgery, you have similar topographies, similar refractions, and patients undergo lenticule surgery. And this is always the burning question: why are some patients unhappy after a SMILE or a lenticule surgeries? They don't have that wow vision, and we always blame the machine or we blame the surgery. But if you look at it in detail, these are always the 2 case scenarios. A lot of patients take at least a week or a month to get that wow vision compared to that of the 50% of the patients who get it the next day. So if you on day 1 see the OCT of these patients, you can see the patient who was happy, you can see the interface line very clearly. But if you see the other set of patients who were unhappy, you cannot make out the interface, you cannot see the line. And also if you look at the Bowman's membrane, this is a very straight Bowman's membrane, but you can see a lot of wrinkles on the Bowman's membrane. So your quality of vision of the patient is not good because of the interface edema and the wrinkles in the Bowman's membrane. Now, why does this happen? If you see preoperatively, the first set of patient is always going to have a very, very, very stiff cornea, where your CBI and the stiffness parameter, which is the SPA1, is going to be extremely on the higher side, whereas the other patient is going to have relatively okay biomechanics, not so strong, not so weak. What do? You don't stop doing the surgery. You can always do the surgery, but you can just navigate the energies intraoperatively and The second thing, as soon as you remove the lenticule, you can just iron out the cap intraoperatively, which will reduce the Bowman's wrinkle. It will have lesser intrastromal or interface edema, and that's how the patient will have a better quality of vision. So having, you cannot do an OC, you cannot get the information from the OCT before surgery, but a very stiff cornea can have a tougher dissection, wrinkles post surgery, and interface edema. So preoperative biomechanics can tell you a lot, and if you don't know what's gone wrong, if you don't have biomechanics, post-operatively do, or if your patient is not happy with the quality or quantity of the vision, do an OCT on day one, and it will tell you whether there are wrinkles or edema. If it is there, then you just iron out the cap, and that will just improve the quality of vision. So that's how the OCT helps in daily practice on navigating why some patients are unhappy, and you can just increase the dose of your steroids also post-operatively to reduce the interface edema. So that also helps us a lot on what to do and how to navigate. So topography alone is good, but it can miss out a lot of information. It can be falsely reassuring. You like, everything is fine, I've done the best, my patient is not happy, but you sometimes have to look at the biomechanics and the OCT to tell you what, where, and why something went wrong and why my patient is not 20/20 happy. Always a question. Confocal microscopy gives you a lot of information sometimes when it comes to microbial keratitis, especially in the acanthamoeba keratitis. So this is a patient who underwent a therapeutic PK but came back again, and there was a graft infiltrate, and you can see there's a graft infection, and the patient had a lot of redness and pain. So it can happen in terms of fungal keratitis, but when we did the gram stain, the KOH, everything, it was proven to be an acanthamoeba keratitis. Now, sometimes it can be missed on this because it's a very tricky situation to be picked up, and if you want to confirm, so only time when acanthamoeba keratitis, the PK or the keratoplasty or the treatment doesn't work is when the patients have active cysts. And the only way to find out is the confocal microscopy, which one thing, invasive. Second, you cannot do it all the time in an infection patient. So you need something non-invasive. So one day we got a question from the Oculus team is, do you think you can actually see those cysts on an OCT? So we started scouting for these patients, and this is work in progress. But for the first time, we can actually see the yellow arrow where it is. There are something like cysts and trophozoites, which are less than 3 microns at times, or even less than 5 microns, but you can actually pick it up. So it's a non-invasive test, and in spite of the infection of the graft, you can still see the cysts below it. So, and when we did the confocal microscopy for these patients, we could confirm that what we were seeing on the OCT was there on the confocal microscopy as well. So probably we are moving to an era where we may get these answers on the OCT, whether the cysts are present, because whenever there are cysts or trophozoites, you have to have a lot more aggressive treatment compared to that of other things. And definitely they say, oh, you see it in other infections also. This is other patient of Pseudomonas, you do not see any cysts. So probably what we were seeing on the patient with acanthamoeba keratitis was true. This is a patient of contact lens induced ulcer, healed, and now there is a scarring. Of course, the patient is not happy with the quality and quantity of vision, so the patient was started on losartan. But a lot of times the scars, you do not see it disappearing, or you do not see the treatment is helping or not in the initial stage. Now, if you see here, you can actually, this is a scan of Pentachem OCT, you can see those traction bands, which is pulling the scar, and that's why you don't know whether the patient treatment is working or not. When you start giving the treatment, the scar depth is not going to start reducing at the beginning, but you need to start loosening those contraction bands. So again, with the high definition OCT, which is here, you could see the traction bands, and on the other image, you can see the traction bands are actually being cut. So there is reduction in the fibrosis and the scar density. So it will help there as well in quantifying the same. So just to summarize, yes, it's a great tool because it's high resolution, non-contact imaging, which gives cross-sectional details, and we are not just looking at 5 layers, we are looking at tear film, we are looking at multiple layers of epithelium, and we are looking at Dua's layer also in some cases. It helps us in enhanced decision making of our patients and also the clinical and surgical interventions. It gives you layer by layer analysis, and it can have an impact on patient care. You can actually use these images to educate the patient of why we are doing what we are doing at times. Thank you.